My son, the boy I'd raised to be kind and respectful, stood in the living room of the home I'd lived in for 40 years and delivered his verdict with the calm finality of a judge. "Mom, we've decided that you'll need to find somewhere else to live. With Sarah, the kids, and her mother moving in, it's just too crowded here." He said it so simply, as if he were discussing what to have for dinner. In that moment, the foundation of my world didn't just crack, it turned to dust. But he'd forgotten one crucial thing: this wasn't his house to give away. Hello, my dear friends, I'm Eleanor. Welcome to my story, a tale of a mother's love, a son's betrayal, and the quiet, fierce strength that emerges when you realize the only person who can truly save you is yourself. If you've ever felt taken for granted, if you've ever been made to feel like an inconvenience in your own life, then you will understand the journey I'm about to share. Don't forget to subscribe and share your own stories in the comments below. This is the story of how my son tried to make me homeless, and how I found a home within myself. The day began like any other. I'd made a pot of vegetable soup, the way my mother taught me, the scent of thyme and bay leaf filling the small, cozy kitchen that had been the heart of my home for 4 decades. This was the house where I'd brought my son, Michael, home from the hospital. Where I'd nursed my husband, Robert, through his final illness. Every scuff mark on the floorboards, every chip in the paint held a memory. Michael arrived just after lunch, his wife, Sarah, trailing behind him. She had the pinched look she always got when she had to spend more than 5 minutes in my company. We made small talk about the weather, about the children. And then, Michael cleared his throat. "Mom, we need to talk about the future." I smiled, assuming he was going to discuss retirement homes, or maybe a vacation. "Of course, dear." "What is it?" He took a deep breath, not meeting my eyes. "With Sarah's mom retiring and her lease being up, and with the baby on the way, we've decided it makes the most sense for them to move in here." My smile faltered. "Move in, here?" "Yes," Sarah chimed in, her voice bright and false. "It's a big house for just one person, Eleanor. And we could really use the space. It's a practical solution for everyone." "A solution to what?" I asked, my heart beginning to beat a little faster. Michael finally looked at me, and his gaze was not that of my loving son, but of a stranger. "Mom, be reasonable. You're getting older. The stairs are becoming a hazard. This way, we can all be together. We can help you." The condescension in his voice was a physical blow. "Help me? By moving me out of my own home?" "It's not like that," he said, his tone turning impatient. "We've decided that you'll move into the garden shed. We can convert it. Put in a space heater, a small bed. It'll be cozy." I stared at him, certain I had misheard. The shed?" "Michael, that's where we store the lawnmower. It's full of spiders." "We'll clean it out," Sarah said dismissively. "It's not forever. Just until we can find you a nice, assisted living facility." The words hung in the air, toxic and final. Assisted living facility. They weren't asking. They were telling. They had decided my future, in my own home, over my own soup. I looked from my son's resolute face to my daughter-in-law's smug one, and a cold clarity washed over me. The son I had loved and sacrificed for was gone, replaced by this man who saw me as a problem to be solved, a piece of furniture to be moved to make room for his new, improved family. The rage that rose in me was not hot and hysterical. It was cold, deep, and ancient. It was the fury of every mother who has ever been cast aside. I stood up, my knees protesting, but my spine straight as an iron rod. "No." The single word echoed in the quiet kitchen. Michael blinked. "What?" I said no, I repeated, my voice steady. "I am not moving into the shed. I am not moving into an assisted living facility. This is my home." Sarah let out a short, incredulous laugh. "Eleanor, be realistic. You can't manage this place on your own. It's too much. I've been managing it for 40 years, I said, my gaze locked on my son. Long before you came along. This house is paid for with the sweat of your father's brow and my own 2 hands. It is not yours to decide what to do with. Michael's face hardened. Mom, don't make this difficult. We've made our decision. The papers are already drawn up. I have power of attorney. A chill ran down my spine. Power of attorney? I never signed any power of attorney. He had the decency to look slightly ashamed. You signed it last year. When you had that spell in the hospital. You probably don't remember. I remembered perfectly. He brought a stack of papers to my hospital bed, telling me they were insurance forms. I'd been groggy, trusting. I had signed without reading. The betrayal was so profound, it stole my breath. But he had underestimated me. He had forgotten whose son he was. Get out, I whispered. Mom. Get out of my house. I roared, a lifetime of love and patience finally snapping. They left, sputtering indignations, warning me I'd be sorry. The moment the door closed, the strength left my legs and I collapsed into a chair, sobbing great, heaving sobs of grief and fury. But I did not cry for long. Robert had always said I was the strongest person he knew. It was time to prove him right. The next morning, I put on my best dress and went to see a lawyer. Not just any lawyer, but Margaret Thorne, a pit bull of a woman who had been my friend since high school. I laid it all out for her, the shed, the power of attorney, the whole sordid plan. Margaret listened, her eyes growing colder with every word. The power of attorney obtained under duress or through deception is invalid, Eleanor. And even if it weren't, this house is yours, free and clear. He can't force you out. I don't just want to stay, Margaret, I said, my voice quiet but firm. I want to make sure he can never do this to me, or to anyone else, ever again. Margaret smiled a thin, sharp smile. Then let's go to war. Our first move was to revoke the power of attorney officially and legally, with documents served to Michael at his office. His furious phone call was a symphony of panic and bluster. Mom, what are you doing? You are embarrassing me. You tried to put me in a shed, Michael. I think we're past embarrassment. Next, Margaret helped me create an ironclad will and a living trust. The house, my savings, everything I owned would be placed in the trust. Upon my death, it would not go to Michael. It would be sold, and the proceeds would be donated to a local charity that helped elderly people fight wrongful eviction. He would get nothing. But that wasn't enough. I wanted him to understand the weight of what he had done. I invited Sarah's mother, Carol, over for coffee. Carol was a timid woman, perpetually cowed by her domineering daughter. I showed her the shed. I told her what they had planned for me. I saw the horror dawn in her eyes. They told me you were becoming senile, she whispered. They said you'd agreed to this. That it was for the best. The only thing I'm becoming, Carol, is free, I said. The rift we sowed in their alliance that day would never fully heal. The final act was the most painful and the most liberating. I changed the locks on my house. When Michael and Sarah came over, unannounced as usual, they found they couldn't get in. I opened the door but didn't invite them across the threshold. This is no longer your home, Michael, I said, my voice calm. You are a guest here. And guests are invited. This is ridiculous, he shouted. I'm your son. Are you? I asked, looking at him, truly looking at him for the first time in years. A son protects his mother. A son honors her. You sought to discard me. You don't get to call this your home anymore. I saw the shock in his eyes, the dawning realization that he had lost. He had lost his moral footing, and he had lost his power over me. He had traded his inheritance for a fantasy of a spacious home, and in the process, he had forfeited his mother's love. They moved into a cramped apartment with Sarah's mother. I hear from mutual acquaintances that they are miserable, packed on top of each other, the stress fracturing their perfect facade. As for me, I still live in my house. I tend my garden. I have friends over for tea. The silence is no longer lonely, it is peaceful. It is mine. My son thought he could decide my future. He thought my story was over. But he was wrong. The most important chapter was just beginning, the one where I learned to live for myself. He tried to make me homeless, but he only succeeded in showing me that my home was never just a building. It was me. And I am finally, truly, home. Family is not a right, my darlings, it is a privilege earned through love and respect. My story is a reminder that our worth is not determined by our utility to others, and that it is never too late to set a boundary, even with those we love the most. If this tale of reclaiming your space and your spirit resonated with you, please support this channel. Subscribe for more stories of courage and consequence, and let me know in the comments what you would have done. Until next time.